Alright folks, Peter here. Welcome to the first part of this CBF 125 engine swap. I have about an hour and a half before I have to go, so let's see how far can we get with this machine. I already showed you a little bit around when I was unloading this thing from the van. But let me show you a little more. This is the same engine type as the CBF that we did a couple videos back. On the clock, it has a 5,000 and almost 500 kilometers. I don't know if that's accurate or if that gauge cluster was changed in the past, because if so, then these engines are really unreliable. And what happened to this poor engine, this is the parts that came with the bike, is that the piston, here we have the piston. The piston seized just on this one end, and the piston rings are also seized and baked in. So that means this thing hadn't any compression, and that's why they decided to take it apart. And unfortunately, the cost of labor in Austria is so much high that they couldn't afford to repair this. But the repair of this engine is not that hard and not that expensive. It just needs a new cylinder wall finished. It has to be drilled, honed. New piston, rings, check the rod and all that stuff, but we're not gonna do that because of, first, my financial situation right now, and the second, the twisted CBF 125 passed away and we inherited this engine. So we are gonna swap those engines over, and I want to have this thing ready for sale as soon as possible before the end of the season. As you know, I need money. So let's get this engine out of the motorcycle. It's pretty simple. We have to unbolt this holder for the side stand, and also the shift lever, cover, sprocket, then couple bolts up front, 2 bolts at the rear, and then couple wires and the cable for the clutch. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna set you on the time lapse and let's get this engine out and the new one in. Okay, so the old one is in. We have a nice hole to put in the new one. Before I do put in the new engine, I want to check the insides of the throttle body, because this bind pattern on that piston is really one-sided, and generally what your binding on the piston is gonna be is you can have couple bindings, couple types of binding. If you overheat your engine and the piston is expanding too fast, and it has tendency to bind on the walls of the cylinder. So you'll get the 4-point bind. If you lack lubrication and you have a bad slap in your piston, you have 2-point bind, because the crankshaft, as it's moving down and up, it has tendency to put pressure on one side of the cylinder wall on the piston, and that can cause 2-point bind, or the bind in the middle. But this bind where I have my piston, this thing is binded only on this corner here. So judging by the color, probably from overheating, but also this could, because the piston looks very good. The piston skirts look very nice all around, no scratches. The one from the black engine looked a little bit more worse on the skirts on the sides. So what might happen is some piece of debris, or maybe a carbon piece or something like that can fall into the intake and cause that one-sided bind. So I have a couple things that I have to do on this engine, like take off this breather tube and take off these starter wires and that thing, and then I'm gonna put it back in. I'm not sure that I want to record that part, putting it in, because that part usually, and this is a light engine. this has maybe 90 pounds, 75 pounds, like something like that, like about 35 kilos. So these are little and light engines. It's not like engine in that or that. Yeah, I want to talk about the Ducati in another video. And so probably I'm gonna tune back in when this engine is at least on 2 bolts, and I don't have to swear and sound like a piggy when I'm trying to lift that thing on there. And as I said, this is light engine. Those 4-cylinder engines, those both are 2-cylinder, but those 4-cylinder that we have in the stash, those are real trouble to get in. So let me get that engine in, and we'll see what we can do in how much time. We have an hour and 20 minutes, so let's get into it. Well, the engine is in. I would lie to you if I said it was easy, but it wasn't that bad. Just, you can see, maybe just a couple drops of sweat. What I did here, and never do this at home, I used a car battery as a stand, and I helped myself with a screwdriver to get a leverage needed for starting the first bolt down in the hole. So now I'm going to put the bolts back in. You don't need to see that. That's just a reverse order as we took it out, and we are gonna put back all the hoses. And as I also looked at the throttle body, and that thing is pretty dirty. we are also missing a clamp on the airbox, so we have to source that out from the other bike. And hopefully I make this ready to run in about 40 minutes, because that's what I have left. There is one interesting thing that I want to show you, but let me get a light. So where were we? Yes, this engine that we are currently putting on, hold on, I need third hand right here. This engine that we are currently putting on should have triple the mileage, triple the kilometers than the other one. And look at this, the preset on the clutch is much more back than on this engine was, because this engine you can't stick it in there, and I have to loosen it a bit, just a bit, but this clutch is in better shape than that should have 3 times less mileage than this one. Also check out how gummy, how bad this thing is. The other one, the engine, this engine, the throttle body wasn't that bad, so I'm going to rinse that off with a brake clean and then continue with the reinstall. Alright, much better. Just brake clean and paper towel, and also an old toothbrush. So let's check for the clamp that we are missing. This is the engine hardware, and this looks like it. Yeah, we have our clamp here. So I think I have everything needed for the Renault, for the engine to run. I've got left to do the sprocket and chain, hook the shifter, put on the side switch with the side stand, the cover. I'm gonna replace the cover with a black one to match this engine, and let's see, do we have any codes? No, we don't have, so let's not today. But I've managed to done this thing in about an hour and 10 minutes, and I have my 20 minutes to get cleaned. So I'm gonna see you tomorrow. For you have to wait at least a week for this video. That way I'm able to get ahead with the content and scramble some more motorcycles or something like that to play with. So stay tuned for next week. We're gonna button this thing together, start it up for the first time in this frame at least, and put on the fairings and try to run it across the property here, and we'll see if we can manage to get this thing sold before the end of the season, which is like in two months max, really max. So thank you for watching. If you like this one, please, and if you are looking forward to the next one, please subscribe. It really helps my channel. Like and comment, even dislike. Those things really help to push my video, so the other people can enjoy it with me also. So I'm out of here. Bye.